The network is messing me around, is messing me up around. So let me see. I hope this time it will be stable. Maybe I can even put this here so that I'm more clear. Maybe I should use this technology from a computer device. Let me see how this technology from computer device will help me. Technology from computer device, do me something. Let me see. I'm trying to enhance things here so that I can do better with this presentation. I'm trying to change my setting to employ some of the technologies that I got from a computer device at East Park. How is that? Let's see. How is that? Do I look better? I think I do. Can we read? This is what I got from computer device. Okay. Okay, I think it's better now. Yeah, so now, here is the issue. I'm sorry for the interruption that we experienced, but now let me get back to my points. I was saying that we certainly need a commission of inquiry. On this one, I don't want to duplicate the letter that Yali has written. Yali has written to the minister, to the Chief Justice to set up a commission of inquiry. I don't want to duplicate what Yali has done. And I'm hoping that through this address, the Chief Justice will hear us that we need a commission of inquiry. And I've made up this mind, I've made up this decision after hearing Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. From what Mr. Hakainde Hichilema said, I am very convinced that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, we need a commission of inquiry. And why do I say that? I say this, anyway, before I explain that, I will explain that later on. But let me first give you the objective of why we talk about privatization. Why do we talk about privatization? I want you people to follow me very, very well. I am trying to be very reasonable and objective. I'm going to be very, very reasonable and objective. I'm not going to be talking, from without or emotionally. I want to be very reasonable. And here is the point. Why do we talk about privatization, especially when we are near the elections? I know some people have been saying, no, we do this to demonize Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. Even Mr. Hakainde Hichilema has said that they do this to demonize me. No, it is not to demonize you, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. It is not to demonize you. We do this so that we can see if you are worthy, to go into State House. That's why this issue comes about all the time when elections are near. This is politics. Whenever elections are there, everyone is put on a balance to weigh this person. So Mr. Hakainde Hichilema and all of you supporters of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema should not be surprised. Neither should you be upset that we talk about this issue when elections are near. It is because we need to weigh if Mr. Hakainde Hichilema indeed is worthy to be president. How can we tell if Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is worthy to be president? How can we tell if Mr. Hakainde Hichilema can be president? How can we tell? We can't tell this by the way he looks. we might not judge him well because he might not look as good as I am, you know what I mean? But so we need to look at where he's coming from. We need to look at where he's coming from. What has he done? Okay? And this is a question that should be asked. We should ask about everyone. We should ask this question. Ask this question about Tayali. Ask this question about Makambwidi, about Kalava, about all those who are aspiring to get into public office. We need to scrutinize where they are coming from. So you shouldn't be upset and you shouldn't be surprised. That is the objective. Now, today's interview, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was asked by this journalist who said, did you participate in privatization? And he qualified the question to say, were you in charge? Were you in charge? I think that is a very wrong question. That is a very wrong question. How do you ask Mr. Hakainde Hichilema if he was in charge? How do you ask Mr. Hakainde Hichilema if he was in charge? That question was asked. And, you know, some people were phoning me to say, no, why did you criticize the journalist? I mean, certainly. How can a journalist ask Mr. Hakainde Hichilema if he was in charge of privatization? I mean, to say the least, that was a very naive question. That is a very naive question. Who doesn't know that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was not in charge of the privatization? Who doesn't know? Who doesn't know? The people who were in charge are, of course, the government, the MMD government. They are the ones who were in charge. But that question was asked, and Mr. Hakainde Hichilema took time flamboyantly explaining who was in charge. It was the president, it was cabinet, it was the committee of ministers, it was the ZPA, and so on and so forth. That was redundant. That question and that explanation was redundant because we all know that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was not in charge. Rather, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was hired as an advisor. Rather, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was hired by government. He was hired by government as a consultant. That is the role that we should be asking Mr. Hakainde Hichilema for. We should not be asking him, were you in charge? We know he was not in charge. It's the government that was in charge. The assets which were being sold were government assets. And therefore, the only people that had the charge of selling, of administering that, they were the people that were voted in by the people. And they acted on behalf of the people. Those assets which they were selling, they belong to the people. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema has never been in government. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema has never been president. And I doubt he will even ever be. I doubt he will even ever be. So, why should you ask him, were you in charge? Why should you ask him that? Really? You say it is a powerful interview and you go and put up a question like that? And Mr. Hakainde Hichilema enjoys, and start explaining this. I mean, that's useless. You need, if you want to interview Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, if you want to put questions to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, put questions on Mr. Hakainde Hichilema based on the things that he did. And what did he do? Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was in charge of a company called Grant Thornton. That is the company that was hired. And Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is saying, no, I never did this, I never sold the mines, whatever. Yes, you, as your name, Hakainde Hichilema, yes, we won't find you among the names of individuals that participated in selling the mines, because it is your company. It is your company that was hired, and you were in charge. You are the senior partner of Grant Thornton at the time of privatization. Whoever else was involved or whose name is mentioned is because they were under that company, Grant Thornton company, which belongs to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. That company, Grant Thornton, it's the one that was hired by government. And that company belongs to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. And Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is not being sincere to say I was not involved. Because I have a company myself. Most of you know, I run CTTK, Business and HR Consultancy. If there is impropriety in my company, there is no way I'm going to absorb myself, exclude myself to say, no, I'm not part of it. Yet this is my company. You can't do that. And even if it's not your company, even if you are working in that company, if a company is involved in fraud and other impropriety, there is no way you are going to run away from it to say, inembomba coffee. You can't. You can't. If you work for ZNBC, and I use ZNBC just as an example because ZNBC is a public entity. If you work for ZNBC and there is rot going on in ZNBC, you are part of it. You cannot say, me, I'm not part of it. You are part of it. Otherwise, you would resign. You would resign. So, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema cannot run away from, whatever Grant Thornton did. He cannot run away from that. And we, the personification of a company, at that point, even as we speak now, Grant Thornton, the personification is in Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. So Mr. Hakainde Hichilema cannot run away from that. He can't run away from it. So now, but Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is trying to be clever. I never sold the mines. Your company was involved and you were in charge of that company. There is no way you can run away from it. You can't run away from it. You can't run away from it. You are very much deep in it. You can't run away from it. That is being clever. That's being crooked. That's being crooked. If you avena imbe na vena Jack Mwimbu, ikale ni mupepi, start writing notes. Mailo mukatwale kukoti. Mukatwale kukoti. So that I'm telling you, running away that you were not involved, yet your company was involved. It's crooked. It's trying to be out, to be smart. And Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, if you look at him throughout that interview, you can see that that man was trying to be clever. That man was trying to clever. I'll show you very soon. I'll go to that interview. I'll show you some of the clips. I haven't finished it, but I'll show you just one of the clips to show you that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was trying to be crooked in that interview. I will show you. Just hold on. I will show you that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was trying to be crooked in the manner that he handled that interview. But I want first of all to lay the grounds. And the grounds that I'm saying is that, number one, I've said that we need a commission of inquiry. And I've explained the objective why we talk about this. And I want to tell you, ways, I write myself. I follow these things nicely. I even put my points nicely. Yeah? Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, like I've said, he was in charge of the company that was hired by government. He was in charge. And since he was in charge, he was the expert that was giving advice to the government. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was giving advice to the people that were in government. And if you listened to what Nawakwi said, as well as what Bakatele Kalumba said, you will realize that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, though not in charge, was more respected than the people in government, because that selling of companies was a IMF program. And that program, they insisted that the politicians should distance themselves. They made the decisions, but the decisions which they were making were based on the advice given to them by experts. That's why Hakainde was hired. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was hired as an expert. And if you heard what Banawakwi said over Mosotunya, Banawakwi was resistant. Banawakwi was doubting. Is 6.5 okay? And she said, she pulled Mr. Hakainde Hichilema aside and asked him, are you sure 6.5 is okay? And Mr. Hakainde Hichilema said, yes. If by Edith Nawakwi at that point, had overruled what Hakainde Hichilema said, it would have been seen as interference in the professional works of the consultants. So much as Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was not in charge, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema had so much power because whatever he advised government was taken as professional advice, which was supposed to be taken by government. Otherwise, whoever would have refused what Mr. Hakainde Hichilema said would have been deemed to have been interfering in expert advice. That is the issue. So, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, you are being smart. You want to hoodwink us. You want to hold us in our eyes. To say, no, I was not in charge. No. I refuse. You are the expert. You are the most relied upon person. What you said should go. And what you said went. Because what you advised was taken as professional advice. The question is, did what Mr. Hakainde Hichilema advise government professional advice, or he had interests? And these are the questions that journalist should have asked Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. That journalist should have asked him to say, you were the one who was giving advice to government. And as a person that was giving advice to government, professional advice, hired to be paid a lot of money, do you think the advice you gave to government was good? Those are the questions that journalist should have asked Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, not to ask him, were you in charge? No. He should have asked him this. And these are the questions that I would want Mr. Hakainde Hichilema to respond to. I would want Mr. Hakainde Hichilema to respond, to say, you were given the responsibility to advise government. Can you tell this country that the advice that you gave to the government at that point was solid government, was solid advice, was good advice? And if it was bad advice, if it was good advice, where did the MMD government change it to make it bad? So that we can blame Banawakwi to say, look, HH told you to do this, but you didn't do it. Instead, you did this. That's how it should be. That's how it should flow. That's how it should flow. The advice that you gave, did it make sense? Did it help this country? The advice you gave the government at that point in time, did it save this country, or it made this country worse, or it made this people to die? It made people to die of depression. What happened? What advice did you give? If you gave a good advice, why is it that we have Luansha Ngechiwolia today? Why? If the advice that you gave, why is it that we have people who worked for Lima Bank dying of depression? If the advice that you gave to the Zambian government at that point in time, why is it that so many people today are languishing in poverty as if they never did anything? Why is it that this country has no assets if the advice that you gave was a good advice? Why? That is the question that you should ask Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. That is the question that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema should answer. We shouldn't be asking Mr. Hakainde Hichilema as if he has been in government. He has never been in government, never. And I doubt he will even be in government. I doubt he will even be in government. We should ask him on what he did. The advice you gave government in the Weke Shapo, did it help this country? Did it help this country? The advice you gave, did it help this country? If privatization was a bad process, you were Hakainde Hichilema. If a privatization was a bad program or bad policy, why did you participate in it? Why did you participate in it? These are the questions that HH should answer. Because for me, if a government is involved in a policy that I do not agree with, a policy that I think is a bad policy, I shouldn't participate in it. Because when you participate in it, especially as an advisor, you become part and parcel of it. You can't run away to say, I'm not involved. You are involved. The mess we are living in today, Hakainde Hichilema, you are involved. You were the expert who was advising government. And that is where you, as Tayali, I hold you guilty. That is where I hold you guilty. I hold you guilty. I hold you guilty for participating in something that brought misery to the Zambian people. I hold you guilty. Before I even talk about what you got, I'm talking about your participation. That's what I'm talking about. So let's not try to play around and with words. No, did the Hakainde, hey, was Hakainde in government? Hey, was Hakainde? He wasn't in government and he will never be. But he was the advisor. Did his advice help the Zambian people? Where has the advice of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, where has it taken us? Where has it brought us? Where are we out of the advice of Hakainde Hichilema? This is what we should be talking about. And then Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, when he was talking, he said, I was not alone. There were many people. In his interview, he says there were thousands of people who were advising government. He also says that there were a number of people who bought properties from government. He says that justifies a call for a commission of inquiry, because there are many people that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema said there are many people. He himself said that. He said, I was not alone. Even there were lawyers, there were what. So, just there, we need a commission of inquiry. Just there, we need a commission of inquiry. There were many. We want to know who are those. We want to know them. We want to know who are those. People have died. This country is impoverished because you sold our assets. We want to know who are those people who are involved. We want to know. So, on that one, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema should be happy that we are going to form a commission of inquiry. Now, I told you that I'm going to take you to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema talking. Let me go to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is asked about I want to show you a clip of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema talking, and let's analyze things. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was asked about the house. I want to talk about the house. You know, it's a long thing, and I'll just talk about this, but I'll talk about other issues later. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was asked about that house. And I know a lot of you are thinking that, or are saying he cleared himself. No, far from it. For me, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, when he spoke about his house at Sevo Road, he has left me with more questions than answers. He has left me with more questions than answers. And I am going to show you. I am going to show you, not me talking, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema talking. I want you to follow him very well on the house of Sevo Road and tell me if Mr. Hakainde Hichilema has cleared himself on that house. Before I talk about the mines, I'll come back to the mines. I'll come back to Mosotunya. I'll come back on that one. For tonight, I just want us to look at the Sevo Road. And let's see if Mr. Hakainde Hichilema cleared himself. Let's see. Let's watch what Mr. Hakainde Hichilema said.
Do it professional way, like in asset verification. So the answer is yes. In terms of involvement at that level, as I've explained, no.
That's Mr. Hakainde Hichilema talking.
In terms of power, in terms of legal power, in terms of police power, I was not responsible.
So you were not in charge.
I was not in charge. Thank you very much.
Okay, now let's zero in on the three key issues that Madam Nawakwi raised, because and I know this is what has brought up all this talk on the past.
Yes.
In it, the Sevo Road property, the Ramco sale, and then there's the Mosotunya International Hotel. That's in Livingston. Let's go through each one of these items. Let's start with the Sevo Road property. When did you acquire that property?
Well, first I think that it's fair to say that Madam Nawakwi on Hotel alleged that I stole a house from Liverpool. And she mentioned the house in Kablonga, the Sevo Road house in Crescent, that I stole the house from Liverpool. I abused my raw Indian privatization program, got that house from Liverpool. Dubiously, Shaki called me a crook. I'm not crook. So that's the first issue. So that house never belonged to Liverpool, as she alleged.
So you did not buy the house from Liverpool?
I bought the house, but not from Liverpool.
Okay? I bought a house, but not from Lima Bank.
All I can illustrate.
Is a proof, is a document to show that you did not acquire this property from Liverpool.
There is, yes.
Would you care to show us?
Absolutely. Gary, you're coming on very well. I think that will help the viewer. Madam Nawakwi made this allegation clear, unambiguous. I responded on your program that I never bought the house from Lima Bank, I never stole the house, I don't steal. Here are the facts about the property.
Facts about the house.
It's called Farm 4888. Stroke 14, stroke A, stroke 3. Several. That's the name of the property. That's the identity, legal identity of the property. Property has legal identity. Right? So, I bought this house from a company called TBZ, National Tobacco Company. So, this house basically was advertised, open telling, public open telling, to the newspaper in 1995.
Now listen there.
1995.
Listen there. Let's hold on. Let me hold a bit.
I stole the house from Lima Bank.
Let me just a bit there. You have heard Mr. Hakainde Hichilema said he bought the house in 1995. Eh? Mr. Hakainde Hichilema bought the house in 1995. That's what he says. 1995. Okay?
Because in her allegation, I was involved in the privatization of Lima Bank. Which year? 1998.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema claims he bought the house in 1995, and yet Mrs. Nawakwi was saying that he bought the house. Lima Bank was privatized in 1998. Okay, the house, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema bought a house in 1995. Madam Nawakwi is saying that the house belonged to Lima Bank. Lima Bank, which was privatized according to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, 1998. So there is a difference there. We give it to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema.
But I bought this house through a public tender in 1995. You
hear that?
The timeline there does not match. Someone is lying. Is it me or is her? It is her who is lying. I say, it is the one you lied. I never bought the house in Liverpool in 1919 or thereafter, by 1995. So let me just run you very quickly through the document. So there is the summary of the evidence of the house having been bought from TVZ.
Now, even there, let us not be naive, Mwebantu. Let us not be naive. That document, though we can't see it clearly, that document Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is showing. What document is that? He's saying there is a summary. What document is that? Where is that document coming from? Where is that document coming from? That document Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is holding in his hands. He's saying this is a summary. Who prepared that document? Where is that document coming from? I'm not trying to be petty. I'm not trying to be petty, but I am trying to point to the fact that sometimes clever people, crooked people, they can play magic. They can flash documents in your face that this is evidence. But let us be critical. I'm being critical here. That document Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is flashing. Where is that document coming from? He's saying this is a summary. Because some of you are saying, no, he produced evidence. He produced proof. Is that proof? Where is that document coming from? But anyway, you can put that one aside. Let's go on. You hear.
The National Tobacco Company and not from Liverpool. Very, very quickly. So I responded to a newspaper advert in April 1995.
I want somebody to write that one. I responded to a newspaper advert or tender in April 1995. Please, those of you, I want you to follow very well. Kenneth Zulu, please, can you write April 1995, Hakainde Hichilema responding to the advert in the newspaper.
Right? Very important. And then after I responded, in fact, the newspaper was in May.
Now listen there. In fact, the newspaper was in May. Have you heard him? In fact, the newspaper was in May. He just said, I responded in April 1995. That's what he said. He changes, he says, in fact, the newspaper advert was in May. And listen what follows.
Responded within May 1995.
Have you heard him there? Have you heard him? Earlier on, let me turn the camera. Earlier on, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, just here, he said, it was a tender which was published in the newspaper, and I responded to the newspaper tender in April 1995. Within seconds, he goes, he says, the newspaper tender was in May, and I responded within May. Okay? That's what he says. Hello? What's going on? What's going on here? Are we telling facts? Yeah? Are we telling facts? What's going on here? Let's go. Let's go. Let's follow this man. Let me turn the camera.
I was awarded the tender. I was the highest bidder. At least $1 million. That's the point I made earlier on. Not involved in the privatization. I already, as a business person, was able to tender for this house at $61 million. Answers your earlier question. Did I make money from privatization? I was already able to buy. God was kind enough to us through our business from the time we were 26. I was able to buy this house. So now, Who advertised the house? A firm in Dollar called TP Chiwe. It's all here. I think I gave you copies of the document. TP Chiwe, you do have a copy? There you go. TP Chiwe and Company of Dollar.
You see, Mr. Akainde really, he plays with people. Don't call me now. Allah. I'll go back a little bit, just a bit there.
Then, after I responded, in fact, the newspaper was in May. I responded within May 1995. And I was awarded a tender. I was the highest bidder. At least 1 million was. That's the point I made in area 1. Not involved in the privatization. I already, as a business person, was able to tender for this house at 61 million was. Answers your earlier question. Did I make money from privatization? I was already able to buy. God was kind enough to us through our business from the time we were 26. I was able to buy this house. So now, who advertised the house? A firm in Dollar called TP Chiwe. It's all here. I think I gave.
Who advertised for this house? TP Chiwe of Ndola. And look at his body language. I think I gave you the copy. I mean, come on, HH. How can you forget that you gave this journalist a copy right at the time when he came? How can you? And look, do you have a copy? Do you have a copy? Come on, people. We love it, poor. Look.
TP Chiwe, you do have a copy? TP Chiwe and Company of Dollar, who evaluation surveyors and state agents who had been engaged to sell the property. For the avoidance of doubt, I myself just made an offer. The advert had many other houses. I singled this one and made an offer to be specific. My offer went in on 26th of April, 1995.
Now listen again, Mwamona. Have you heard him? He said, the newspaper came out in May and I responded within May. Then he comes back, he said, to be specific, I responded on 26th April. So which is which? Which is which? Is this man telling the truth? Is this man being factual? Listen again.
Then evaluation was done. How they did it, I don't know. That was not my job. I was offered the house. So, who owned the house from day one? Who owned the house? Let's go through very briefly. The records are there. Here's the record from land, Minister of Land. That's the record that shows who owns the property. If it's outside of this house. And you can see that.
Internet, don't...
Gary, this statement was obtained on 8 December 2011 because questions around this house started a long time ago. That's what many people.
Oh, internet, come on.
Are not aware. So, Mr. Chilashe was the owner of the house and he sold it to the Tobacco Board of Zambia in July 1997.
Now listen there. You guys. Now, have you heard what HH just said? The house belonged to Mr. Chireshe and he sold it to Tobacco Company in 1997. 1997. It's HH talking. It's not me. It's not me talking. I'm going to repeat that.
Let's go through very briefly. The records are there. Here's the record from land. Minister of Land. That's the record that shows who owns the property. It is outside of this country. And you can see the stamp. Gary, this statement was obtained on 8 December 2011.
That's the statement.
Because questions around this house started a long time ago. That's what many people are not aware. So, Mr. Chilashe was the owner of the house and he sold it to the Tobacco Board of Zambia in July 1997.
Tell me I am being unfair to HH. This is his page. I am getting this I am getting this not from anywhere. It is not doctored. I am getting this from his page. That's his page there. Let me turn the camera. I am getting it. That's his page there. This is his page. I have not edited it, and it's himself talking. It's not me. When we started, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema said the advert in the newspaper was in April 1995. Within a short time, he changes. He says it was in May, and I responded within May. Later on, he says I actually pushed in on 26th April 1995. Then he comes back. He's reading a statement from Minister of Lands, and he says the house belongs to Mr. Chireshe. And Mr. Chireshe sold the house to Tobacco Company in 1997. HH Umwine Eulelanda, it's not me. HH is the one saying that. Eh? HH is the one saying that. Ngatamufwide na labweke sharp.
July 1997.
Mwamfa, July 1997. Up.
1995.
Hey.
The records are here. Then evaluation was done. How they did it, I don't know. That was not my job. I was over the house. So, who owned the house from day one? Who owned the house?
From day one.
Let's go through very briefly. The records are there. Here is a record from Land, Ministry of Land. That's a record that shows who owned the property. And you can see the stamp.
Yes, it has a stamp.
Gary, this statement was obtained on 8 December 2011. Because questions around this house started a long time ago. That's what many people are not aware. So, Mr. Chireshe was the owner of the house, and he sold it to the Tobacco Board of Zambia in July 1997.
1997? July 1997.
Then, Tobacco Board of Zambia went along their entries here, got a mortgage from Zambia National Buildings.
Now, basically, I want to put back my camera on this nice technology of computer device from East Park. So there we are. I am not just saying things from without. That clip is from Mr. Hakainde Hichilema Facebook page, which is approved. The genuine one, not a fake one, the real one, approved page. And Mr. Hakainde Hichilema himself speaking, he comes up, he said, okay, let me respond about the house in Severod. And he starts giving an account of how he acquired that house. He says that house was tendered, was advertised in the paper through a public tender. And that was in 1995, April 1995. Within a short time, he says it was in May, and he responded within May. Then again, he goes back to 26th April. Then he says, who owns the house? He's reading, by the way, he's reading a document from Ministry of Lands. And I'm sure we can all tell that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is an accountant. He's an economist, and he doesn't miss figures. He doesn't miss figures. He's very accurate when he's reading these things. And this is a document that he has had from 2011. And even before he came to read here, he must have gone through it. He prepared the documents. And what does he read on that document with a stamp? He says it was owned by Mr. Chireshe, and Mr. Chireshe sold it in 1997. How is that? How is that? Eh? How is that? Jonathan, it's you saying 1987. HH said 1997. You can go back and see. He said 1997. That's what he said. Okay? And if you listen further, there are a lot of other discrepancies. What are you saying about April and May? When did the advert go? Was it in May or was it in April? When did HH respond? When? When was he answered? You see? It is not clear, and this is not me. This is not because I hate HH. This is coming from him. It's coming from him. And you can't accuse me of saying, no, you don't like HH. No, you are just looking for faults. No, it's him saying that. And he prepared for this interview. He prepared for it. He prepared for it, definitely. I mean, these are, imagine if it is in court. Even you lawyers, imagine if this is in court. And I can assure you, this video will be produced in court. You are getting excited. Whoa, 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 we are going to court, we are going to court. That's why I know at kuko, oh, ningiramuli contempt. Ningiramuli contempt. Naleka. Naleka, okokside yuko naleka, nshaikateko. But these are some of the things, these are some of the issues. And I'm just saying, if it was in court, with the way HH has said, I'm not talking about the court case, but let's imagine what Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, suppose Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was on the witness stand. If Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was on the witness stand, what would you make out of this kind of testimony? What would you make? That's why I say, when you are going to court, be careful. Be careful when you want to go to court. Be very careful when you want to go to court, because you might go there as a champion. You would be embarrassed. You'll be embarrassed. So, you have seen that statement. For me, I'm not satisfied. I am not satisfied. And I'm going to, I know some people are saying, whatever, whatever. I will go and investigate. I will go to the Ministry of Lands. I will investigate that house. I have the proper number. Thank you to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. I am going to investigate myself. I'll take it upon myself. Next week, this is one of the things that I'll be doing. I will thoroughly investigate this. I will investigate. It's farm 488A /14/A/3. I will check that. I will go and check that. The other things that I'm going to do, it's about the issue of the mines. The issue of the mines. I want to investigate that, but I have realized that all these things, it is just too much. It is just too much. So, the best that we should do is to have a commission of inquiry. The people who used to work there, when HH was going there to kick them out, some people were telling me, there are people who have come, actually, by the way, this is the thing that has even, another thing that has convinced me. There are people who are coming from Luansha, who are saying, HH used to come. Someone was even telling me in the inbox that HH fired them. When he just came, when Grant Thornton took over, they were fired. They lost their jobs. And HH started managing things. The mines were under care and maintenance. Government was releasing money, a lot of money. How much money was going into the mine? All these issues need to be answered. All these issues need to be answered. And the best way we can do this is to have a commission of inquiry. So that those people who were working there, those people who were kicked out of their employment, who were kicked out of the houses, they can come and tell their own stories if they saw HH there or not. Because HH has been refusing. So a commission of inquiry will help, because people will come and say, yes, HH came and he told me this and that and that. HH came and kicked us out of the house. Those people at the moment, they have got nowhere they can go and express themselves. The only way these people who are aggrieved can come forward and tell their stories is through a commission of inquiry. We need a commission of inquiry. Please give us a commission of inquiry. Give us a commission of inquiry. There are a lot of people who are coming in my inbox, who are complaining. They want somewhere where they can go and talk. They want somewhere where they can go and challenge Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. That can only be done through an inquiry. Abena Ntewewe, at one point I thought, an inquiry is not a right way to go, but I have seen Vaiche Namkwata Manofo Mulelanda. What you said is making sense. Let's go for a commission of inquiry. Next week, I'll be investigating some of these issues. I am coming back on Mosotunya. I am coming back on Mosotunya. What Mr. Hakainde Hichilema said there, I am coming back. I am coming back. I will tell you about Mosotunya. On Ramco's, I may have to go into Rwansha. I'm going to bring out all this. But look, I am just a citizen. And to do all these things, I mean, you need resources. That's why the best that we can do is to just constitute a commission of inquiry so that we can lay this issue once and for all. We can know who did what. Hakainde Hichilema is also accusing other people. He's accusing other people. Let us set up a commission of inquiry so that he can mention, Hakainde Hichilema can mention some of the people that he knows who took advantage of our assets. I think I've made my point. I just followed what he did, what he said, and out of what he said, I have more questions than answers. And in my opinion, when I was looking at Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, I saw nothing of evidence but somebody who is crooked. When I was looking at him, when he was talking, I saw nothing but a crooked man in HH. That's all. Naamkulala.